Well, welcome to the Hello Morky podcast. I'm Chris.
And I'm Hannah.
And today we've got some interesting topics for you. We're going to be talking about relationships. How do you find a non-toxic relationship in 2023? We'll also be talking about the Bible and how to read the Bible when you're busy. And last but not least,
tea versus coffee, the deepest topic of all of that.
Let's get into it. All right, well, starting off right off the bat with perhaps the most juicy topic that most people will probably be wondering about is relationships. We are in a relationship. We are married. So yeah, I mean, I guess since we're married, we're basically experts on relationships, right? That's how that works.
No, I don't think anyone is an expert in relationships. It's just a learning process, and everyone isn't perfect. We're not perfect human beings. Spoiler alert. But yeah, it doesn't matter even if it's romantic or non-romantic relationships. People are flawed, and that translates into our relationships. So
absolutely. And speaking of being imperfect, I mean, this podcast itself is going to be imperfect. We did actually years ago try and record a podcast of us, just an audio podcast. It was you and I. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. It started and stopped very quickly.
Yeah, we never released we did a whole episode. We never released the episode. And it's funny too, because we were talking about cultural differences in relationships. And we have cultural differences. And basically at the time we said, oh, that's kind of totally irrelevant. It doesn't affect our relationship at all. And I don't think that's true in our experience now in any way. I think it does. It's not like the number one thing, but it does affect things. But yeah, I mean, no relationship is perfect. And so we are not coming at this as experts. We're basically just kind of saying like, hey, this is just two people talking about thing. And if you find that interesting, good for you. And but we've just been kind of thinking and talking a lot lately about how we've kind of noticed, like, you know, we're very blessed, and not to sound like an obnoxious married couple, but like we're very blessed to be in the position that we're in as a married couple, not out on the dating scene. Because we look at our single friends, we look at the people around us, and we say like, man, like it is a complicated landscape out there for people who are single. It's really like our heart goes out to them.
Especially now with kind of the dating landscape where there's a lot of like online dating. Like a lot of people were even starting the dating process before they actually like see the person in real life or in person.
Mm-hmm.
And so, a lot of times I think when you're online and chatting with someone, you can try to create for yourself, a persona that you might not actually be. So I think that can sometimes lead to disappointment when you meet the person, in real life, and you get to see all the nuances that you're missing when you're just chatting with them online. So it's definitely a hard thing to get into, I would say.
Yeah, and I don't really know like putting my experience out there in front as a Christian, just pragmatically speaking. This is not even a theological statement, but like just pragmatically speaking, as a Christian, it's much easier to, in one sense, to find people that at least share your basic values by going to church kind of thing. I mean, even just going to church as a Christian doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to find a solid person. There's toxic people everywhere, inside, outside, all that kind of stuff. And so, but I feel like, I mean, that's where we met. We met in church through a mutual friend. And I feel like that's the ideal situation, if anyone can find it, is through, because there's a certain trust, there's a certain that kind of thing. And then we got to know each other and all that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, how do you find a non-toxic relationship in 2023? I mean, we're not looking for one because we have it. So it's, in one sense, we are the least qualified people to talk about this, the more that I think about it, because,
Yeah, I think it's just kind of for us, like piecing together what we're hearing from our single friends or for people who are out dating and so forth, their experiences. And I think that's kind of shaping what we would think of finding a non-toxic relationship.
Yeah,
I mean, that being said, like I know like online dating has been successful for some people.
sure.
Some people have been able to find like amazing partners with them, but then we've also heard the other side of things where it's just not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think too, like even for like again, specifically where we're Christian, and so we have a lot of friends who are Christian, and we think from that context. And I think like even like on what I've heard lots of times too, like somebody might be on like a Christian dating site, and they're coming across people there, and it's like they're the way that they are speaking or approaching dating is not really in a Christian way, even though that's where they met them, through a Christian, supposedly through a Christian source. And I really feel like my thoughts have been my hot take on this is that more people need to be meeting people in healthy community. And so as a Christian, I see that in church. I think a lot of people post pandemic have stopped going to church. Through the pandemic, through after the pandemic, a lot of people have stopped going to church, just period. And so for various reasons. And so for a lot of Christians, I hear this over and over again. This is not unique. If you thought this was unique to your congregation as you're listening, this is not unique to your congregation. I've heard this so many times where people are going in, they're like, yeah, like I'd love to meet like another person my age that's single in my church, but there literally aren't any. They're all either seniors or they're little kids or they're, couples that just had kids and that kind of thing, but all the young singles are not, no young singles in your area kind of thing, you know what I mean? And but I really think, Christian or not, like the best way is that people need to get back into community. And I feel like throughout the pandemic,
Yeah, and
people lost community.
right. And yeah, we're not just talking, I mean, obviously we come from this from a Christian lens, but you know, that applies the same thing too for people who aren't Christians, getting yourself in the community. And as you get to know people in the community, likewise they can point you to other people who are single, and kind of indirectly by knowing that person who introduced you, the other person, like there is a sense of accountability because it's not just you coming at it from the puppy dog phase where you're like, wow, this person's so amazing, but you get kind of almost a second hand of like other people who've had experiences with them too, and how that was like.
Yeah, because exactly, and you have that people have seen that person, they've seen you, they know the part of you that you're going to put your best foot forward, and the part of that person that's going to put their best foot forward, but they also know the part of you and the part of that person that you're probably not showing to that person.
Yeah.
And they also know whether or not, they're not going to get everything right as well. They're just people as well, but they can help you, guide you in that process to go like, maybe these people are a good match or they're not a good match, and here's why, and here's what you might not have considered, kind of thing. And so I think, yeah, it's just people have moved away from community in general. People don't talk to their neighbors much these days. People don't have, and I like, like I don't know where people are going for community these days. And I think a lot of people aren't. A lot of people are very lonely. That's why there's a lot, not the only reason, but I think that affects a lot of mental health stuff that's going on right now too, where people are feeling very isolated and lonely.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think people just need to get back into community, whether it's joining a basketball league, a mixed basketball league, whether it's going to church, whether it's joining other kinds of community type of groups that could be out there in some way.
Yeah.
Get in community, and don't just get in community to like hunt for singles, but like get in community just to be with people. It's just good for, just like there's so many studies that talk about the benefits of being in community,
And I mean, unfortunately, like or I guess not really unfortunately, but basically if you want a relationship that is non-toxic or is more than just like surface level, like you have to put in the work to do that. Like you can't just be passive and just expect like, you know, the right person to just drop into your lap. I mean, sometimes it does happen, pretty rarely, but you know, like it's just putting in that work, and whatever you put, the work that you put out, like you'll get back as to the quality of people that you're meeting. And obviously nowadays, like it's so easy for us to find surface relationships. Like you can go online to any chat group and you can, you know, chat with people about, I don't know, like the sports or your favorite team or so forth. But getting into more of those deeper relationships where it's not just all about yourself, where, you know, it's just like getting to know what is important to the person that you're chatting to, and kind of where you're talking about deeper stuff like your values and how you align. That takes work and that takes time. So I think it's, you know, being willing to get to the place where you are gonna, you know, put in the work to get to know people
And
deeper.
I think that what you just highlighted on about values and that kind of thing is really important too. Values, beliefs, and things. And like, in a way, you know, I might backpedal this. We'll see. But I think, in a way, I almost think you shouldn't get into a relationship if you haven't established what your idea of beliefs and values are. Because, like, my opinion is that people oftentimes in relationships overemphasize common interests and underestimate the importance of shared values and shared beliefs. And so maybe they're looking for community and they join the basketball league and they're like, oh, we both love basketball. And so, you know, that's our thing. We got, you know, and then they have the cute sports wedding in a basketball, what arena? That's not the right word. We call it basketball court. Sorry, basketball people. And so, you know what I mean? And they've got the, you know, the basketball with the veil on it on the cake and the bow tie kind of thing, right? And it's just this whole cute thing. But then one of them ends up having a leg injury and they're never able to play basketball again. And so now the one thing that they had in common is completely gone, and they don't get to share that time together. You know, I mean, you could, that's maybe not a perfect analogy because they could just watch the NBA together on TV if they still value that kind of thing, right? But like when you get into an argument, you're not going to be able to hang on to each other just because you're both Raptors fans.
Yeah.
That's not going to be enough of a foundation. If you're both Raptors fans, but you have completely diametrically opposed values in life,
Right.
it doesn't. So I think that people need to really think about what their own values are and who they are and their character as a person before they meet someone, so that, like you say, they're offering somebody, like, I'm not saying you guys aren't people of quality, don't get me wrong, we're not here bashing our audience, but like, speaking for myself, before I met Hannah, I know that I had to go through a time of improving who I was as a person, improving my character, and trying to face some of the things about myself that were like not good traits. And that's not to say that I've fixed all of those things. I still have plenty of flaws.
It's just like starting the process where you come to the point where you realize that you need to work on yourself, and you can't always rely on another person to fix you, or rely on the other person to give you like everything you need, because that's not realistic.
Yeah, because I think it's about, it's like, like that joke, kind of like that meme where people say like, he's a 10 but blah 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 blah, or that kind of thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And or like that thing, or people like always make fun of this stereotype that girls will only date tall guys, right?
Right.
And that kind of thing. But like, I think guys have unreasonable standards oftentimes in dating too. And if you like tall people, who cares? That's your thing. I don't care. I'm not holding it against you.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like oftentimes it's like people are like, if they're honest with themselves character wise, because looks are subjective, right? It doesn't really matter that everybody has a different opinion, but like character wise, they're a 5, but they're only willing to look for a 10. It's like, you should
Right.
you should try and be more than that.
Yeah.
If you want more than that.
Right. not to say like, oh, I'm a 5, so I should look for a 5.
No, don't just like, it's like maybe just work on
Yeah.
yourself, but don't be so hard on yourself too, because some people
Yeah.
can go the other way and they're just like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm a 5, I'll always be a 5, and no
Yeah.
one's ever gonna like me, and it's like, it's just we're all in growth, and he's a 5, he's a 10, it's all meaningless, it doesn't mean anything anyway, so like it's just a matter of us just growing. All right, next topic: how to read the Bible when you're busy. So like we said, we're both Christians. It's very important to us. Reading the Bible is a huge important part about being Christian. And if you're curious about what Christians believe, you don't have to be a Christian to go ahead and read the Bible. If you're curious, go ahead and read it and see for yourself what it says. And I personally believe God will speak to you when you read His Word, if you're willing and you ask Him to do so. But there's no pressure on that either. If you just want to read it and see what it says for yourself, I encourage you to do so. You can get the free Bible app, YouVersion, or the library probably has a Bible. You can get inexpensive Bibles at your Christian bookstore. I'm not getting affiliates for selling Bibles.
But we can put the link to the YouVersion
down
below if you guys do want to check it out. We're not sponsored by YouVersion.
No, but we could be. No, okay. Bible. So how to read the Bible when you're busy. So this is an issue that I think a lot of Christians face, where they understand the importance of the Bible conceptually. We understand that. And, we typically say it's a good idea to read your Bible every day. But I don't think that, like, I don't have stats. I should have looked up some stats on this, but I don't have stats. But, like, I don't think most Christians actually do read the Bible every day. I'm going to give you full disclosure. I don't read my Bible every day. I try to, but there are days where it just doesn't happen, and that's on me. But it's not something to feel guilty about, because I think a lot of people do feel guilty about it. Like, I missed my Bible today. The Lord does not love me anymore. And it's like, that's not how it works. It's unconditional.
Yeah.
But even
I think there's multiple ways to read the Bible, not just like physically reading it, which, can be quite helpful, I find, when you have like a physical Bible and you're, have the time to sit down and think more deeply about it. But there's also ways to listen to the Bible on audio, or what other ways?
Well, like,
there's picture Bibles too.
If you
like to look at pictures.
If you're like me and you like graphic novels
or videos,
and comics,
yes, that's what I was thinking of. Videos.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things. There's a great YouTube channel, maybe we can link to that as well, called The Bible Project, that does all these really visual illustrations and explain the idea of certain books of the Bible. It's a great way to like jump into it if you're not like familiar with what a certain book of the Bible is like about. It's a great way to jump in. But reading the Bible when you're busy, I mean,
I think, like, for me personally, like, a lot of times, we get overwhelmed by, the list of things that we have to do. But when you actually sit down and break down, like, what you have to do, there's always little pockets of time. But for us, like, especially now in this culture, and I'm definitely guilty of this too, it's easier to just, like, scroll your Instagram or go on TikTok, because those offer you, instant dopamine bursts, I guess you would call it, where you're like, oh, I just saw a funny video. Oh, I just saw a goat. I don't know what sound they make, but I saw a goat baying and so forth. And that gives you like instant gratification. Yeah. But when you actually look at, so like, for example, if you have like an iPhone and stuff, you can actually see like how much time you spend on your phone each day, and it breaks down into like categories like entertainment and so forth and so forth. And so like, I was able to look back on my history and be like, oh my goodness, like I spend like 2 hours a day on entertainment, like Instagram, etc. And when you look at that, it helps you put into perspective, like, no, I'm actually not that busy, because I could take even just a fraction of that time, like 30 minutes or 15 minutes, to read the Bible. But I think for me personally, like, it's harder to do so, because you actually have to like pay attention and not just like blindly scroll. But I think when you first start out, like, it is tough, and there's definitely seasons in your life where you're gonna be, not necessarily reading the Bible every day, or reading it for less and so forth, but kind of recentering yourself and looking at your day like from a holistic, is that a word to say?
Sure. Yeah.
Holistic perspective, where you're like, okay, well, maybe I'm just getting too overwhelmed by the number of things, but when you actually break down the number of things you have to do, it's not as time consuming as you think you were. So it's definitely hard, and you have to make a conscious effort to turn away from things that are easier to do, but things that are harder to do are not always, or things that are easier to do are not always best for you.
Yeah, and I think like you said, we're in a busy distraction filled culture.
Yeah.
And I think it's also deceptively distracting because like you say, like sometimes we think we're so busy, but like if you actually took down a piece of paper or the notes app on your phone and you wrote down everything that you're going to do in the day or that you did in a day that felt really busy.
Yeah.
And then you actually plotted like, well, this is like how long it takes me. And then you're like, if you've ever done that, you suddenly start realizing, why is it taking me so, why is my day, like this should have been done so much. Like even if you're liberal with how long the times are to take to do a certain task, you're like, I should have more time than I do. But it's because 3 seconds go by, I gotta look at my phone.
Yeah.
3 seconds, like I can't like even think. And so for me, one of the things that I've done in a practical sense is I've tried to like my little nightstand next to the bed, like I put my physical paper Bible there. I'm not against digital Bibles. I'm not against digital things. So yeah, like we're not saying that like social media and the internet and all that is bad. Like we're right here making a video that you're going to view on social media and on the internet and that kind of thing. And there's lots of great like content that that people can consume through the internet, through social media and that kind of thing too, right? Like so like these things are not inherently bad, but also it's just a fact that like when I pick up my paper Bible, the battery doesn't die. There's no notification that pops up, and I think that's a trap we get in. Our alarm goes from the beginning of the day. Our alarm goes off on our phone. So the first thing we do as we wake is what? We interact with our phone. We turn off the alarm, and then you just like, we don't even have to think about it. It's not even a thought. It's just, I'm going to check my notifications, my messages.
Check my email.
This,
I'm going to check my messages that John Doe sent me. I'm going to
exactly
check my Instagram, my TikTok. I got to do a TikTok as I'm getting up from bed.
Yeah, it's like, I woke up like this, Exactly. And then before you know it, it's like, oh my goodness, I've got to eat breakfast.
3 hours later.
Exactly. And I've got to get breakfast. I've got to get off to work, these kinds of things. It's just like, it's filled up so very quickly. So I've tried to put my physical paper Bible on my desk there and just try to make a habit of just like, I turn off that alarm. And for you, if it's even harder, like you just can't, like as soon as you touch that phone, it's over. Maybe just go to your dollar store and get like an digital alarm clock where you can set an alarm that's not your phone and literally power your phone off. Because can I be honest with you? I think a lot of us have this thing in the back of our head, this excuse in the back of our head that like, what if someone needs to contact me? And what if there's an emergency? Honestly,
our alarm clocks reaching extinction.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, go the way of the phone booth. But like I think we don't have to worry about those emergencies. Honestly, it's what are you gonna do? Are you a firefighter? Are you EMS?
Okay.
Like,
well, if you are, then
if you are, sure. But if you're not, like, likely there's no emergency that you're gonna be able to like go rescue somebody with the phone. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, just turn your phone off if it's too much of an issue for you. But having the paper Bible there, picking it up, reading that first, honestly, it just resets the brain. It resets the brain for the day. So I find that super helpful. And if you like, the Bible app is a great thing too. You found that experience yourself personally, right? You've really leaned into the Bible app, right? Because I think it
offers like reading plans too that kind of groups together topics. So, like somebody smarter than you has already gone ahead and accumulated, verses
unless that's you, plans. Like you're watching this and you make the reading plans.
Good for you.
Good for you. Thank you.
Yes.
But like they've incorporated something new now too that almost looks like an Instagram like story, and like people are like reading a Bible verse and talking about it. So it's like almost like you're like, it's almost like, like when somebody has an addiction, like say like, I don't know, like I don't really want to use a specific thing because I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody, but
Yeah.
like I don't know. Let's just say you've made a decision that you want to quit smoking,
Yeah.
and so you start chewing gum, right? It's almost like this is the chewing gum because it's similar. It's a similar like mental process kind of thing, you know. But I do encourage using a paper Bible. And there's another thing that really changed my perspective. Like we don't have we don't have any kids, but I heard this perspective from a parent, and I thought this was so. If you're a parent watching this, I thought this was such a game changer idea. This guy's basically saying that he would always read his Bible on his phone, and his kids would see him in the morning, and that he realized was those kids don't know he's reading a Bible app on the phone. They just see him on the phone, and they don't recognize whether or not like he's like just scrolling Instagram, watching YouTube, checking his emails, or actually engaging the Bible. So they're not seeing, even though this guy was faithfully reading his Bible like every day in front of his kids, you know, to them, they weren't seeing it modeled before them, the importance of the Bible. They saw like the value of the phone.
Yeah.
Right. And so he switched to reading on his paper Bible. Again, there's nothing inherently superior. It's still the same words of God, but they could visually make the connection of the importance because they're watching. I'm going to show you up on the screen the average reading length, like how long it takes to read various books of the Bible. I want you to pull out your screen time if you have an iPhone. I think that Android has something similar and they call it something else. I don't know what it's called, but I want you to pull out your screen time. And if you're watching with us, and look at what your average screen time is, like, you know, how much you spent watching YouTube or how much you spent on Instagram and that kind of thing. And if you've got like, you know, even if you've only had 5 minutes on YouTube, if you look at the chart that I'm showing you on the screen, you can see that there's like several short books of the Bible that you could have read in 5 minutes. And I'm not saying this to guilt trip you. I'm saying this to encourage you and to empower you and show you that you already have the ability to do this very thing. You actually have the time. You just have to swap it out with this one thing. And then here's the books that you could actually read. So I think that's just a really cool way to look at like, oh, I don't have enough time to read this. Well, actually, you could read this entire book in the time it took you to check your email.
Okay, I feel really bad because it says today for my stats, it says I've spent 47 seconds on the Bible app. And the most is Safari, 7 minutes. My mail, have spent 7 minutes. Facebook, I've spent 5 minutes.
Honestly, that's pretty low. That's pretty low. But even in
goodness.
that time that you spent on Facebook, you could have read the book of Jude, for example. And that's not a guilt trip. That's to show people, like, look what you could actually do so easily. Should we jump into our final topic to wrap up the day, Hannah? I don't know why I said that so weird, but...
Tea versus coffee.
Tea versus coffee. Cheers to that.
We actually have coffee in our cups.
I have nothing in my cup. I've finished.
I have a latte.
Yes.
With cinnamon.
Homemade.
Homemade indeed.
Faux latte, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Should we just walk them through this really quickly? So, faux latte. This is not our invention. We found this online somewhere. I don't remember where, but basically, if you want to make a latte at home, this isn't really a true latte.
It's not.
You're not going to have
Similar
the true
taste.
latte art, but personally, in my opinion, 90% the same.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're going to do is, if you have a coffee maker at home, which you can get cheaply at, you know, any Walmart or anything like that, you know,
French
$20.
press or whatever you want.
So you get your stuff ground up, and what you're going to want to do is whatever ratio of sort of grinds to water that you normally do to make your own coffee, you're going to want to double the amount of grinds. At least double, if not more. But like, we don't want to like, you know, plow through all that coffee so quickly. So just double it, okay? Double the amount of grinds to the amount of water that you normally do, because you don't need much water to do this, right? And so then, because all you're going to need is, so for a cup like this, you're going to need that much is coffee, right? So basically what you're doing there is you're emulating making an espresso. Sorry, not espresso. Yeah. That's not a thing. Coffee nerds are going to come at me in the comments if I say espresso. Espresso, you're trying to emulate that by just basically making a really strong coffee. It's not truly an espresso, but you're just making a strong coffee because it's going to be diluted by the milk, right? Then what you do, once you've made that, you're going to take a mason jar, those little glass jars that you can get like jam. People make, somebody makes you homemade jam and they give you that, like those little jars. The Bernardine is like a brand. We're not sponsored by them, but we can be. Hey, Bernardine, you can sponsor us. Put milk, fill it about 75%, 3/4 of the way, that kind of thing, up with milk. Do not put the lid on. Leave the lid off. Put it in the microwave. You don't want the lid on in the microwave because it's metal, and metal in the microwave is a bad thing.
Kaboom!
Exactly. So you're going to put that in. Then you're going to turn it on for... The thing we saw online was about 1 minute, but personally what I found was do 30 seconds, move it, do another 30 seconds. The reason is because sometimes when you do a full minute, it might bubble over. Mm-hmm. So you've done a collective 60 seconds in 2 sections. Take it out, okay? You might need a oven mitt because that's hot. Screw the cap on, okay? Then just leave it next to your sink for about a minute or 2. Okay, after about a minute or 2, the lid should have like popped or like adjusted a little bit, right? You're not necessarily going to hear it, but it'll have adjusted. And then you're going to take it, and I usually hold that oven mitt again, and I shake it over top the sink just in case there's any spillage. But after a minute or 2, you shouldn't have that spillage. If you did it right away, it's not sealed right and it'll spill. So you shake it for about a minute, about a minute or something like that, and you should start seeing like bubbles forming inside. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then you're going to take your coffee, which was poured into your mug. You're going to pour the mason jar into it, right? So you get some of that now foamy milk, and you can pour it back and forth a couple times just to really get it mixed in. And basically, you have a faux latte. It's not exactly a latte, but it's an imitation latte.
Yeah, exactly.
So tea versus coffee. Hannah, where do you fall in the?
I'm team tea.
Team tea, you heard it here, folks. Yeah, you know what? I'm team tea as well. I love both coffee and tea.
We do like coffee too.
Yeah, obviously. We went to the effort to like make our own latte.
Personally, for me, I feel like if I drink too much coffee, I get a headache.
Yeah.
But I don't find that that's the case for me with tea, which I don't understand because tea, like certain teas too, have caffeine in it. So I don't know, but I feel like tea makes me feel more relaxed, and coffee like doesn't necessarily make me feel more awake, but it makes me feel more like I'm out to do some serious business.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if somebody said to me, okay, and I'll just ask you this question right now. I mean, we already have the answer to this, but like if you could only have one
tea
the rest of your life. Same. And I love coffee. I really do like coffee a lot. I like to grind my own beans. We have some instant coffee for like emergencies, but you need that emergency.
I also think coffee goes better with coffee flavored desserts are better than. I don't think I know of any tea flavored desserts, are there? I'm sure there is.
I don't know, but I mean I think tea does go good with desserts too.
Desserts just wonderful. Like tiramisu is like one of the most wonderful creations.
Coffee flavored things.
Yeah, I love it.
Is almost better than coffee.
Yeah.
Because everybody likes that. Mm-hmm. Coffee Crisp, that is a Canadian chocolate bar.
Is wonderful.
Legendary, best thing we have to offer. Yeah.
I thought it was poutine.
Ooh, poutine and a coffee crisp. That is, why? Okay, I'm tangenting here a little bit, but like, why is all of the food that Canada is known for like the worst for your health? Like syrup, maple syrup, like that's just like
pure. It's not necessarily bad
it's
for
pure
your health.
Sugar.
Like in moderation is fine.
I suppose that's true, but it is like pure sugar, and then there's nothing healthy about a poutine.
Well, there's potatoes, which is a vegetable.
Yeah, but you've got deep fried potatoes, the French fry.
Yeah, all the nutrients die.
You have, the skins are gone. Add you have the cheese curds, which are delicious and probably not great for you, and then like the gravy and that kind of thing, it's just not
good gravy.
Good gravy. I like coffee. I like making my own coffee. I actually enjoy making coffee for other people. I'm not the most skilled at it, but I'm trying to get better at it. But I actually enjoy. I don't know what it is. Like I'm not like that kind of person who like let me bake muffins for someone,
Yeah.
but like I like to make coffee for people and see whether or not they like it. And I just get like
Do you
a
like it
rush.
when they say they don't like it?
No, I don't like that at all. But I get a rush when they do like it, and that feels good. But like tea, that's the other thing. Okay, so like tea, I don't know anyone who has ruined a tea.
Yeah.
It's
Just add water to it.
You have to be
Well,
exceptionally skilled, and maybe a loose leaf tea you could ruin that. But
yeah.
like I feel like you have to be really
I think certain
exceptionally.
teas though, like we don't really go that far, but like certain teas you have to add a certain temperature of water to it, or you could
Oh,
like,
true.
I don't know, ruin the taste of it, but we don't really
Yes.
go to that degree.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
But like there's some great and there's so much variety of tea. There is variety in coffee too.
There's more variety in tea.
There is I feel like there's more variety in tea. And with coffee, I feel like you can get good coffee, really good coffee, but like the range is like there's really good coffee and there's really bad coffee, and when it's really good it's noticeable, and when it's really bad it's noticeable.
Yeah.
And with tea though, it's like it's just kind of like there it's always reasonable.
Yeah,
It's never
it's good.
blown my mind, but it's always
It's
reasonable.
comforting, like a warm hug.
Exactly. So yeah, like I like tea like that. What's a favorite? Rattle off some favorite teas for us. Tease us with some teas.
Earl Grey.
Solid.
Dun dun dun.
I actually don't remember. Do you like cream, like Earl Grey, like creme? I think it's like creme de la Earl Grey or something like that. It's like a cream Earl Grey cream.
Good. I prefer more like black teas, strong black teas, but you prefer more herbal teas.
I like both. Like we actually drink almost every single this is perhaps one of our most consistent rituals is drinking an orange pico tea in the evening. Which
is probably
some
not
might say
great
is-
because it has caffeine in it.
yeah.
But I don't know.
And we have it with milk. I actually drink. So that's the other thing. If I have a black tea, I want it with milk. But I drink coffee black,
Yeah.
generally speaking. And what did you learn about coffee recently? Black coffee.
Oh, I guess it has lots of antioxidants and is anti-inflammatory.
Yeah. Apparently, I
So-
feel like that every few years they have a study that says coffee
Yeah.
is the worst for you, and
Yeah.
then they say and then coffee is the
I
best
think in
for
moderation. Obviously, if you drink too much and that's too much caffeine, is going to be bad for you. So it's kind of like in
Yeah.
moderation is fine.
you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite teas. I used to get some teas, and there was like a tropical Earl Grey. It was called. I don't actually know what was in it, and then it was a raspberry Earl Grey, and it was like it was really really nice. And I'm gonna throw this out. We're not sponsored for this. We don't get kickbacks on this, but someone else does. So I'm gonna drop a link for this. If you want to look at some interesting teas, there's a place called Adagio Teas online. They have a lot of like interesting teas that you can order. And I've got a buddy who's got a great podcast called Audio Theater Central that you should check out if you like audio drama. And even if you don't, you can learn about a new medium that's super cool called audio drama. And he reviews stuff like that. But he has a link too that kind of kickbacks to him for tea. So if you're looking to order any tea online, use the link that I'm going to put below. Help out a buddy. Okay. So, but yeah, there's lots of great teas. I've got some great teas from there too. There was a tea that I got from there. I gave it to you years ago it was like a Singapore
Sling.
tea.
But it was not alcoholic. And for those of you who know, Singapore Sling is an alcoholic drink.
Yeah.
But it
Which
was
is like not a real Singaporean thing, right? It's like a tourist thing, isn't it?
I don't know. I think it is a Singaporean
Okay.
thing.
There you heard it first.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like a nice kind of, it was like a fruity flavored
Yeah, it was
tea
just like
kind
a
of thing.
fruity. I don't remember what it
Yeah.
tastes like. It was fruity.
Another great one is this is on Adagio, and this is specifically made by my buddy JD. Is called the Bookworm Blend. So if it's like you want to read a book and you want to snuggle in with some tea, it's a great little blend. It is a nice blend. I don't remember what's in it. I just remember I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So you can check that out. So those are our thoughts on coffee versus tea.
Please spill the tea in the comments below of what your favorite tea or coffee is.
Oh, well done.
Ta-da!
Controversial thoughts on pumpkin spice latte and whether or not it's like amazing or not,
No.
I like it.
I don't like pumpkin spice.
Someone sent I found out somebody has like a homemade recipe one, so I'm going to attempt it maybe. We'll see. We'll follow up on that in the future if it goes well and tell you guys about it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
This casual
Casual
conversation.
chat with Chris
And Hannah.
and Hannah.
That's right. And Batman behind me that you can kind of see there. So,
Okay, well, have a good day. Ta-da!
bye. Hey, Samosa, what are your thoughts?